Hey everybody, let me just clear some of this adventuring gear off my table. Alright, how's it going? Welcome to, I guess it's your Saturday, most of you. It is my Sunday afternoon here in the fantastic land of Hobbiton. Well, over the mountains from Hobbiton, but you know, in the vicinity. Let me just pop out the chat here. Wow, you guys have been busy. Suggested videos. That's what I like to hear. I see a Yanogu there somewhere. Here on time, yep. Pretty much. I'm actually a little bit early. Right, as promised, today is going to be a battle of the cheeses. So we have a Puhoi Valley, what is this, Carwell Blue. Gorgonzola style. It's a small batch recipe. This is a 2016 Champion of Champions cheese and a gold medal 2016 as well award-winning cheese. I haven't yet cut open the plastic wrapping here, so there may be a moment of brutal blood and screaming for mercy. No, apparently I'm okay. So far so good. My room is going to smell funky after this. Okay. That's one cheese. The next cheese is the baby Kikarangi. Kikarangi, king of cheeses. This is from Kapiti. Are they both from Kapiti? Oh no, Puhoi, Kapiti, and I've got another one from Whitestone. So there's 3 different companies, 3 different blue cheeses. And this is their premier cheese. Oh wow! And I tried the Kikarangi cheese, I think, on the last stream. That was really nice. Hey Michael. Hey Zoe. Whoa. Oh god! Oh god! Look at this cheese. Does that look evil or what? That is Cataplebus death cheese right there. That's what a death cheese would look like. That doesn't look like something you should eat, but I'm gonna. Okay. Unmistakably creamy, they say. That's vicious looking. Okay, the last one is a cheese I'm a little bit scared of. This is the Whitestone Artisan Oamaru North Otago, New Zealand Ohau Goat's Blue. So this is blue goat cheese. And it looks kind of evil. Here goes. Wow, I sharpened this knife up probably way too much. Okay. So it's a hard cheese. Wow. Whoa, it's got an aroma. Here goes. Which one shall I do first? Shall I do the Kapiti, the Puhoi, or the Whitestone? First comment in the chat gets first choice. Halflings make the best cheese, or they make the best cheese out of halflings? Hey Steve. Hey Mason. Mr. L. You getting hungry? Yep, absolutely right on time, Greatscythe. And the aroma. The grey one. The evil cheese. Okay. Alright. So we're going to go for the Kikarangi first. Cut into it's fairly solid to cut into. As is my way, I'll be taking a generous slice of it. Hopefully I can get this out in one piece. Wow, it's sticking together pretty hard. That's insufficient. I'm going to get a bigger slice with a nice sort of black chunk on it. Okay, here we go. There we go. There's our that it's sharp, it's creamy, it's a bit more solid than the last kikarangi that I bought. I think it's actually a bit more aged. As before, it has a raft of aftertastes that come with it. But it is very, very edible cheese. It is fantastic. Okay, that's a fantastic cheese. That look. Alright, I'm not currently turning to stone or poisoned, so I've avoided the Catapleibus poison. Okay, next up I'm going to try the Capity. This is a dangerously moist looking cheese. Oily, I would say. Okay, there we go. It's not so much, it's not so much blue as it is green, which is a bit of a worry, but here we go. Profoundly different. Very sharp. It's just like the cheese flavor is just overwhelmed by the blueness, but it's got a kind of a green kelpie. I don't know if any of you are dairy farmers, but it's got a silage taste to it. It tastes like silage smells. So yeah, no, that one's not that great. It's all right. It's okay. It hasn't got a shred against the puhoi though. All right, now the Whitestone cheese. This one's looking dangerous. It's very, very solid, crumbly cheese, as you'd expect from a goat cheese. It's almost like a cheddar. It's got an array of different colours involved. I don't know if that's intentional. It's usually a bit of a worry if a blue cheese is anything other than blue or green. It's got a smoky green sort of look to it, and it's pungent. Oh wow. That is amazing. Okay, its mouth taste is fantastic. Its aftertaste is awful. It tastes great when you're eating it, but as soon as you stop eating it, you get this wave of bitterness, then an almost rubbery finish to it, like a burnt rubber finish to it. I was going to say that's really amazing, but the aftertaste really, really, really not satisfactory. So I'm going to have to say that the Catapleibus death cheese, the kikarangi, the baby kikarangi, is the winner. Well done, puhoi. Oh, sorry, Capity. You've done it again. Yeah. It's fantastic. Puhoi, not bad. I'll give you a close runner-up second with your silage cheese. But yeah, the winner is Capity. Hey, thanks, Oakley. Now I need a massive amount of coffee. All right. That concludes the cheese portion of the show. And as usual, we'll wait an hour to see whether I survive. Now let's talk about some D&D. The cheese number 2 was the Puhoi Valley Carwell Blue Gorgonzola style. All very good cheeses. Interesting, each in their own way. Oh, thanks, Dark Horse. I'm glad to have helped. Getting set to play a round of Fiasco with friends. Just wanted to drop in and quick help supply the cheese. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do appreciate it because this cheese is not cheap. These are all artisan cheeses. They're okay. I mean, it's all right. Was a cheese stream from birth? I don't know what to think about that. I'll take it as a compliment. Voltitza! Okay, so now we're talking about the multiverse of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm here to field all of your questions. Warhammer of Sharpness. Oh, talking of Warhammers, here is the script for the second in the series of dwarf videos. There will be many more. This basically covers dwarves, half-dwarves, Thunder Blessing, and Moradin. It's predominantly about Moradin and the faith of Moradin, and how important Moradin is to dwarves and what dwarven culture, how dwarven culture is impacted by their religion. So it's kind of important because it answers a lot of those questions that people were asking me about half-dwarves in the Forgotten Realms and across the plains. So it, yeah. I don't know how popular it's going to be with people who are not happy with the fact that different races are in D&D are not like different types of humans. They are aliens, right? They're quite different. So dwarves have got a very different aspect to them, to humans and elves and things. You have an idea for super intelligent oozes? Tell me more. I use my inspiration to say versus cheese. Good question, Dragon Turtle. Because that, yeah, you could get the impression from that Oenoloth video that the Yugoloths are not native to Gehenna. They range across the lower plains, so Gehenna is their main sort of hangout. That's where they get most of their work. But they also do a lot of trafficking through Hades, because Hades is like the hub that connects a lot of the lower plains together, because it has the River of Blood and the River of Styx flowing across the first layer of that plane. So they travel across there quite a lot. And that brings up the other question that I got a lot of, which was, am I going to make a video about the trade in larvae, the demonic and abyssal larvae? And yes, I am. And I'm here to answer questions about that as well. Yeah, they trade in souls and they trade in larvae, which are nascent, like baby demons or devils, essentially. Mammon. Edge. That's a good point, actually. In Savage Species, you could play a troll. They had level adjustment back then. So the effective character level. So you'd be a first level character, but you'd actually have spent... you're going to be stuck at first level up to like level 5 or 6 if you're a troll. Something like that. So it was really hard to play a low level campaign with those guys because they're just so sort of dominant. But you could work them out in a high level campaign. And then the other way I liked handling it was if you took a monstrous character and instead of giving them feats and ability score bonuses, you gave them, they basically took monstrous aspects. So you could either pick a feat off the list, or you could unveil or give them another one of their monstrous aspects. So the troll character doesn't develop full regeneration at first level. It takes them a while to build it up. Hey, thanks billions and billions and billions. Infernal Casino, where you bet parts of your soul but one piece at a time. Keep playing. Also wants your friends to join in the fun, of course. How would you give parts of your soul? How would you represent that? Thanks for the donation, by the way. I don't know what a SEK currency is. Have you ever played a campaign where the PCs went to hell? Yeah, but they didn't realise they were in a layer of hell, though. They just thought they were in an Arctic wasteland. Oh, yeah, the Obelix is an intelligent ooze, for sure. Yep. I think it's a mimic class. It sort of crosses the boundary between ooze and mimic, really. If the Grey Wastes are the primary battleground of the Blood War and the River Styx is their primary mode of interplanar transport, how do they get to the first layer? How do they get to the first layer of what? The Grey Wastes. There's lots of portals to different realms from the Grey Wastes. Like, for instance, they can get there through Asgard. Do dragons have magic bacteria? That's a good question, Stanchcade. Look, bacteria are very adaptable. You got to figure that in a high fantasy environment that bacteria just have got as many different forms of life as other creatures. So yeah, there's definitely got to be magical bacteria, midichlorians, you could say. Are there like elementally infused bacteria? That's an interesting question. You get things like the oozes are bacteria, right? Some of them are single-celled organisms of a ginormous size. So yeah, I'd say so. Some sort of ooze that lives inside dragon mouths, is resistant to their particular type of elemental damage, maybe. So the river Styx is it travels all across the lower plains. The river Oceanus travels across the upper plains, and I don't think either of them travel across the true neutral realm of the Outlands or the land, the hub. Yeah. That would be an interesting campaign, actually. The searching for the mouth of the river Styx, where it starts. Like, imagine if you controlled the flow of the river Styx. That would give you a hell of a lot of power. But of course, you're going to have all of the forces of evil against you. Yes, Ed, I've played all of the editions of D&D apart from the very first white box set. So I haven't played original D&D. I played basic original D&D. Oh, sorry, Billions. Missed the first super chat before my casino part. Would make the Infernal casino part a bit easier to understand in context. Oh, sorry. I'll go back and try and find that. We parts you but one piece at a time. Keep playing. You also want the people. Where's the original part? Oh, sorry. There it is. Must all infernal beings be the most evil they can be? Can they be semi-evil or charmingly evil? Evil with gold-tinted edge example follows. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah, so they're all like the primary thing to keep in mind is that they are a division between law and chaos. So demons are chaotic, devils are lawful. Devils were celestials at one point. So they became evil because of expediency. So they're evil because it's just the way things are more effective that way. So fighting against things which are chaotic, you can't be good-hearted. You have to be absolutely brutal. So demons can infest anything, and their energy taints whatever it touches. So when the Celestials started fighting against demons, they had to kill good things that were being infected by demonic energy in order to rid themselves of it, rid the universe of it. That turned them evil. So you could say that the good forces are more idealistic, the evil forces are brutally practical to the point where they are unempathetic about the effect that they have on other creatures. They are also bigoted, so they see non-immortal creatures as worthless, essentially just tools, chattel, property, a resource to be harvested and used. They see mortal creatures as the beginning stage of a soul that they can manipulate to get the everlasting part of it, the worthwhile part of it, the everlasting soul, the immortal bit of them, over to their side in a great battle throughout millions and millions of years. So the trade in larvae, for instance, is trading in those souls which they've twisted to, well, souls have free will to become good or evil, and those that become evil, they get vied over between demons and devils to their side of the battle. They don't generally touch things which are truly good. They can't, really. And the thing with the trade in the larvae is that the larvae that generate in the nine hells, and this is the important thing, the larvae that generate in the lawful realm of Bator are not that useful for the lawful evil devils. They actually prefer the ones that spawn in the chaotic evil planes because they are more vicious and they're better soldiers. They're more useful for their purposes. So in order to, like, they can make these robotic minion soldiers that they can send in, but to get really useful lieutenants and things like that they raise up through the ranks, they prefer the larvae from other planes of existence. And so there's this traffic, this trade. The demons prefer things which are less chaotic. They want more lawful souls, more lawful evil larvae, so they can raise more effective warriors that follow orders. And so there's this cross traffic, and the middlemen are the hags and the Yugoloths who transport and trade these things. So, yeah, therein lies the part where I see the adventurers coming in is they basically sneak in through the woodwork, and the Yugoloths and hags might actually have some use for them because they can go anywhere as these mortal interlopers, you know. An ascended larva, yeah. Why do the Nine Hells want larvae? They constantly need new troops, essentially. Hey, gaming tourist. Life is good. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for the chip. No, the larvae generate all over the lower planes. So essentially, when an evil person dies, they incarnate as a larvae. And that becomes like a wretch or a main, or they can upgrade to an imp, you know. So there's these, they go through these cycles, these life stages where they absorb power, energy. Yeah, each Ultraloth is different from each other. So they are generated by the Night Hags for a purpose. So they program them with all these different traits. So there's a really interesting story behind most of the Ultraloths. For instance, Charon, the boatman of the River Styx, he's just one of the boatman class of Yugoloths, but he's the most potent Ultraloth, who was created, usually they're created for a specific purpose in the defense of the Hag's business interests and territory. So they usually pop in to the picture where they've been created to destroy a particular threat or army or whatever. So in the case of the Oinoloth, he was created, Anthraxis was created to basically destroy a crusade of paladins. And he did so very effectively. I've got a lot of people commenting on how funny his name is, you know, Anthraxus. So bear in mind that he's been around longer than the word anthrax has been around, so maybe the disease was named after him. Any tips on how an adventurer could craft a deal with a demon without losing their soul, say for another price? Well, you'd be dealing with devils, not demons. Demons would masquerade as, like, if your mage character was not smart enough to realize that they were dealing with a demon, not a devil, then they're in for a bad surprise, as demons don't need to keep their word. They break pacts, whereas devils can't break a pact. They have to keep their word. So as long as you formulate it really carefully, they have to abide by the letter of the agreement. Otherwise, they will be brought low by other devils. So yeah. So they follow their own bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is everything to them. Law and pecking order is everything to devils. Demons, not so much. They just magnets for destruction, and they gravitate towards destruction. Destruction of the universe is their entire point. What will it take to break the trade and the blood war? Essentially, it would take it not being profitable anymore. So Asmodeus has got a vested interest because it keeps his rivals busy, as do the demons want to keep it going because it's destruction. So they just go to anywhere where there's war. So constant warfare actually feeds them energy and the chaos and destruction that is caused as a consequence of it. The Yugoloths want the trade to continue because it gives them profit and it gives them territory and it gives them leverage. So for instance, they can blackmail an entire plane of existence because they can plunge that plane of existence into the abyss, essentially, by boiling over the blood war and funneling in tons and tons of demons. They are very, very evil. You could almost say that the Yugoloths are a worse form of evil than the demons and the devils. Not by much, but they do it because they want to be evil. So they're neutral evil. They're evil because evil gives them pleasure. Devils are evil because it's expedient, and demons are evil because they like to destroy everything. Oop, I'm missing some. Considering that a wish can pause and unpause the Tarrasque's regeneration, do you think that there is only ever one because people destroyed the others by having at least one of them eat, or knowingly otherwise, since its stomach can destroy anything? That's a good point. A Tarrasque can eat another Tarrasque, in theory. So there is lore to suggest that there is a planet of Tarrasques, and that there's only one Tarrasque on different worlds because only one was transported there during whatever divine or primordial conflict brought the Tarrasque to the world in the first place. The Tarrasque is not native to Toril or any of the worlds that it's typically on. So that whole thing of there can only be one Tarrasque on a planet, that's not a rule as far as I know. There just is one as far as anybody knows. So any sort of other stuff around that is theoretical, but the lore actually suggests that there is a planet of Tarrasques, that they are native to a particular sphere. If it's even possible, how hard would it be to redeem a devil? Pretty hard, because they don't want to be redeemed. As far as they're concerned, they're doing the necessary work, right? So they've got to, on the one hand, they like to think of themselves as martyrs for the cause being saving the multiverse from destruction by an alien force of demons who are corrupting elemental power. On the other hand, they feel self-righteous about it as well, that they've been thrown out of the celestial court because the goody two-shoes, airy-fairy, over-principled forces of Celestia don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to do what's necessary. So there is this, status quo of celestial and infernal forces. You notice that angels and devils aren't fighting each other in the multiverse. They're not. They only step in, it's kind of like Constantine. There's this Cold War sort of going on between them where they don't overstep each other's bounds. But Celestia doesn't generally get involved as long as the universe carries on working. If the Blood War ever finished, ever stopped for any reason, then you would see the entire multiverse plunge into a war between Celestia and the infernal forces. So if the devils ever get the upper hand on the demons and stop the encroachment, then they will end up fighting the Celestials, probably. Or they may repatriate, who knows, because their task will have been finished. But the devils have done a lot of really bad things in the process. But it's speculative. We don't know, really. I'd just be, I'll be theorizing. So what do devils think of intelligent undead like liches and vampires? Devils make use of them. They still realize that liches still have a soul. Vampires are their soul has departed their body. So that's one interesting thing. The intellect of the vampire exists because there's an evil force of energy which is using its brain meat, right? So it's formed an identity from its former self, but its soul is gone, right? You can raise a vampire from the dead. You can't raise a lich from the dead, I don't think, because its soul is currently trapped in a phylactery. Vampires, no. Its soul is actually passed on to the afterlife. Raises lots of interesting questions, which I think need to be answered by Wizard of the Coast at some point about, how that works. But, there it is. And devils, make use of them. And demons hate them. They kill anything, so they'll destroy them as well. Lava, Lemure, Imp, Demon, in that order. Yeah, that's right. What happens if a Tarrasque eats a sphere of annihilation? It dies. Who is Ao? Oh, hey, Hayden. Ao is the overgod. So he's the god who's in charge of the various spheres of the multiverse. But more importantly, he's been assigned by other overgods that we know nothing about to essentially make sure that Toril carries on existing. So you could say that he's almost like the planetary overseer, and that all of the gods that interact with Toril have to deal with the rules and regulations of Ao. They tried to supersede and circumvent the Tablets of Fate, which was like his rule book, and that was the time of troubles where he basically busted them back to mortal. So he's got a step over the power of greater gods and lesser gods. The question is whether there is other entities which have the same level of power as Ao, but they don't acknowledge them as overgods. For instance, the Lady of Pain has power over gods in her specific domain, because she can kick them out or will prevent them from entering the city of Sigil. Tharizdun is some sort of overgod as well, because he's essentially unbeatable by all the other gods and primordials. All of their efforts combined could only trap him in a prison which exists because he doesn't realize he's in a prison. That's the only way they managed to defeat him. They managed to bamboozle him and convince him that he's not actually in a prison, but he is, sort of thing. So it's a psychic prison. At one point, I'll probably do a very big video on Tharizdun at some point. I don't currently do it at the moment because it would be too tempting for people to use Tharizdun in their campaigns when they really probably shouldn't, because he's more game breaking than the Deck of Many Things. Every day something new. Yeah. Hags are their own special breed, right? So they created so Hags did a deal with the Baneloths. The Baneloths were the precursors of the Yugoloth race, so they were the original. These things, nobody knows where the Baneloths came from. They appear to be native of the Outer Planes, and they are pure evil. They are just the most evil things in the multiverse. They do evil because they really like it. And they made a deal with the Hags to create a Yugoloth race. So that's the origin of all of the Yugoloths. So the Hags, for the longest time, had these books which had the true names of all of the different Yugoloths. And they could manipulate them that way by basically forcing them to do deals. And since then, things have sort of swung back and forth out of control, but the Night Hags are very clever and resourceful, and have always managed to wheel and deal in the lower planes, and have set up this trade network and stuff, and made themselves untouchable and very useful. So yeah, they've made themselves indispensable. Whoa, missing lots of questions here. Sorry, everybody. Thanks, Kikastuk. Orcus being the example when demons ascend the ranks, is there a metamorphosis they go through, physical changes and the like, werewolf style, painful type? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all of I actually depicted this. There's a picture of a transformation of one of the other creatures I think it's like from a it's turning into a horned devil or something like that, but their body literally tears apart, and a new form of them emerges from it. So it's grisly, it's brutal looking. It looks like it would kill a mortal creature. But, they do it because it's status and power. Getting busted back to a low level of power, of course, is even more painful because they lose all that demonic energy. Or, in the case of devils, they lose all their rank and extra powers and things. If the Grey Wastes are the primary battleground of the Blood War and the River Styx is their primary mode of interplanar transport, how do they get to the first layer of the Abyss and the Nine Hells? Oh, I see. Why haven't they just built a series of massive fortresses between filled with tons of fiends? Okay, so the first thing you need to realize with the Abyss is that whenever you travel to the Abyss, you arrive on a random layer of the Abyss. There is no first layer of the Abyss, really. There's the first catalogued layer of the Abyss, and that one just happens to have the most organized portals to other places. Baator is like the surface of a planet with the other layers of the Nine Hells. I think this was established mostly in 4th edition. The other layers of the Nine Hells are almost like demi-realms connected inside as you go lower and lower into the Nine Hells. So it's kind of like the traditionally in Dungeons and Dragons, which was all dungeon crawls. The lower you go in the level of a dungeon, the more dangerous and threatening it becomes. So that idea is sort of transported directly over to the Nine Hells, where you're descending into the Nine Hells and going into the heart of a planet until eventually you reach the core, which is Nessus. But yeah. Each one of those different layers is a different plane of existence, demi-realm. So it's created. It could be a property of like Baator is some weird onion layer type thing, almost like Carceria is an onion layer of different realities. So I mean, they're alien environments, they're alien universes that have different laws of physics and stuff. So it's weird. But yeah, transporting across the River Styx is one way that you can get from A to B. Without the pure randomness of it. So it makes it's a reasonably stable means of transport across the lower planes. Otherwise, you can just rely on planar travel. That always seems to work pretty well. And if you know which plane of existence that you need to get to in the Abyss, you can travel there with a site-to-site transport to some place that you're familiar with or you have the key for. So one of the important things that's quite often missed out in planar travel in D&D is that you need planar portal keys. So a bit of that plane of existence in the form of whatever you need, whatever representative chunk or thing or material it is that gets you there. Kind of like if you were a Nightcrawler and somebody gave you a photo of the place that you're going to, and he'd be like, okay, I can sort of do it. The key's a bit like that. If the Grey Wastes are blah blah blah. Who would win in a fight between an imp and a quasit? I don't know, too close to call. I've never actually had a fight between an imp and a quasit, so your guess is as good as mine. It's pretty easy to play out on a piece of paper. If you actually roleplay lots and lots of fights between them, you'll probably come to a conclusion pretty quickly. How did Tiamat get to hell? She went there. Yeah, she was probably getting chased around the multiverse by Bahamut at some point, and she decided that basically the area of Baator that she resides in is, to her, it's Tahiti, it's her Fiji, it's her tropical paradise. She likes it there. It's got all the mod cons, it's got everything she needs, that's her condo. Is it possible to lay a curse on a demon specifically? Yeah, I think so. Thanks, Robert. If possible, how hard would it be to redeem a devil? Oh, did I already cover that? Very hard. Very hard. It is possible, though. It's definitely possible. The Rakshasa is a perfect example of how that works in the lore. Rakshasas they're derived from Middle Eastern theology and stuff, and they're the idea of what happens to a totally corrupted soul. Chinese mythology, particularly Taoism, if you have a great imbalance in the natural energies of your yin and your yang sort of thing, if you go too far yin or too far yang, you turn into a demon of either type. And the Rakshasa is a demon of negative energy. So it's somebody it's an immortal that is so corrupted that it's become a demon, essentially. And in 4th edition, its opposite member was the Devas, who reincarnate constantly. The Devas' origin in the Forgotten Realms is when the Malharandi gods came over, following their people, the Mulan. They incarnated their energy into immortal souls that are trapped. Essentially, they can't go to the outer planes or the lower planes, and they keep reincarnating as Deva. And the whole point is that they can carry on their good ways and remain Devas, but if they slip too far towards evil, they become Rakshasas. And of course, that's twisted a lot in the lore and the revisions and things like that. So Rakshasas definitely deal at the lower planes, and Devas definitely are able to travel to the upper planes and stuff. But they can never die and become a full-fledged demon or a devil or something. They always reincarnate as a Rakshasa or a Deva, but they can be redeemed and go swing either way in their existence. I know it's confusing. Gaming Tourist, thank you. What if you trade another fiend's life for a deal? Only if you basically control that other fiend. So if its existence is sworn over to you, and generally speaking, they won't do that because they're dealing with eternity, right? They can't bind themselves to a mortal for eternity because that mortal's, chattel, so they wouldn't do it. That's a good question, Matt. If given a full scholarship to Miskatonic University with your choice of major studies, what would you choose to study? Spell casting, man. Ritual magic. Yeah, probably something like that. I don't think I'd be that interested in like studying the old ones, but yeah, spell casting and ritual magic would be pretty cool. Is there a spell to turn a demon like turn undead? Yeah, that's protection from good and evil. So, yeah, they're evil. Yeah, Voltitsa, an entire planet of them. Yeah, that's exactly it, Kick-Ass Duke. It's exactly like the game Rampage. A demon is only really, really happy when it's breaking stuff. Destroying things. Destroying hearts, minds, buildings, planets. Yeah, Justin, I'm excited about all the love that the lower planes are getting. What is the River Blood as opposed to the River Styx? That's a good question. So I know more about the River Styx than I know about the River Blood. I think I need to do some more research on that. The River Styx is classic sort of Greek mythology. It's water. It has the sediment of it is like condensed memories that form this goop that sort of glugs up on the bottom. The water saps the memories of creatures that touch it. It saps their will to live and their memories, essentially. So the whole idea is you cross over the River Styx and you forget your former life and you just become a blank soul wandering around, they've still got their general attitude in life, so they've still got the same alignment. They just don't have any memories of their past life. As for the River Blood, I'm not entirely sure. I need to do some more research. Yeah, Planet of Tarrasques. I know, it's terrifying, isn't it? That's Spelljammer lore, as far as I know. What's the difference between an Oinoloth, an Ultraloth, and an Ultraloth? And yeah, you are butchering the spelling a little bit, just as much as I'm butchering the pronunciation. So, an Ultraloth is the highest caste of the Yugoloths, also known as daemons. And the Ultraloth is a Yugoloth of any type, any caste, that is taken by hags, put into a cauldron, and basically remade, bioengineered into a unique form of life. And Oinoloth is any of the castes of Yugoloths that have sat on, killed the former owner of, and sat on the wasting throne on the layer of Oinos, which is the first layer of Hades. That's it. That's all that Oinoloth is. So it's almost like the title of King of Hades, or King of that plane of Hades. Hope that explains it a bit. Does an angel fall each time Asmodeus bleeds a pit fiend? No, Grace. No, not as far as I know. Would it be possible to construct Hellfire engines big enough to cull numbers in the abyss? Yeah. I don't see why not. The war to end wars, yeah. Dragon Ball module, yeah. Yeah, a lot of commenters and posters say that Asmodeus doesn't want to win the war because he is still garnering his full strength. Do you think this is the case? Yeah, there's evidence in the lore to suggest that Asmodeus' true form is actually still broken and bleeding from the fall from Celestia, or basically being thrown through the planes of existence until he hit a planet like that, and his plunging into the heart of Nessus actually created all those demi realms in the first place. He was a very, very powerful celestial, and he's broken and blasted and bleeding, and Asmodeus is a projection of him. But also, there's a lot of pre-existing lore to say that Asmodeus is not the first lord of the Nine Hells. There were others, one of which was Satan. So, yeah, there's been a few rulers of the Nine Hells before Asmodeus took control. 4th edition is completely different lore entirely. So you could say that there's not just one Nine Hells, there's lots of different parallel dimension Nine Hells, and in one of them, Asmodeus was the archangel of a god of humans, and he slew that god, and the divine realm of that god, he who was, became the Nine Hells, and all of his former angels became the devils who are trapped in the Nine Hells. Because, yeah, how does the lore of traditional D&Ds explain that the devils are trapped in the Nine Hells? I think I've covered all the super chats. I'm not entirely... Have I? Oh, lead dragons. Hey, Blue Mountains Gaming. Are there any lead dragons and aluminum dragons? Not so far as I know. No, I don't think there's any lead dragons. There should be, though. That's sort of 3.5 edition thinking, that there must be representatives of everything. So there's got to be balance on all things. So if there's a good version of something, there must be an evil version. I think that's all of the super chats. Yep. Boy, everybody's really super active today. Yeah, Planet of the Tarrasques. Yeah, Satan's in D&D lore. So long ago, in an early Dragon magazine, I think it was it Ed Greenwood or was it Gary Gygax? I think it was Gary Gygax himself who wrote an article talking about the Dukes of Hell and all that sort of stuff, and he mentioned, you know, the hierarchy and the pre-existing history of the Nine Hells. And he was kind of, would I say tongue-in-cheek, would I say sarcastic as fuck? But you can see why a lot of people had a lot of problems with, like the satanic panic thing that happened with D&D. He kind of poked the hornet's nest a little bit with his original articles and things. And yeah, but I think, you know, the satanic panic was always going to happen in the mid 80s. Hands up everybody who lived through that. The lead dragons are the ones from fronts that everyone follows. Yeah, they live in America. The lead dragons. Yeah, so I've got another video on the Netherall coming up. Obviously, I've got so many requested videos. You'll have to forgive me, guys, if I sort of cut back and just do a lot of the old requested stuff, because I've got a massive back catalogue list of things that everybody's requested me to do. I'm trying to get to them as quick as I can. I have the exact opposite problem of many other YouTube channels in that I have no lack of content whatsoever. I'm struggling to get all of the content out for people. Even so, I'm putting out like 3 videos a week. Still, I've got so much to do. Poking the nest, yeah. Yeah, well, we're currently in a moral panic. We're in the moral panic of the 2019s. The teens. Yeah, exactly. So, good point, William. It means the adversary. So, what is it? The Shaitan, which got renamed the Tao, the Earth genies. They were originally Satan as well. That's the origin of the word Satan. Old Arabic and Hebrew, Aramaic. Would an outsider swear eternal servitude if threatened with permanent destruction? Yeah, there's probably forces like there's forces in the multiverse, forces of neutrality, for instance, which may step in cases like that, because that's a form of brutal coercion. I mean, it's purely evil doing that. You know, forcing somebody into servitude on pain of death is the worst kind of slavery. And perhaps, I mean, because those immortals are still, they were once celestials. So their fate is still written on the uppermost wall of fate of Celestia. Satine. Oh, I'm missing a lot of these. Hydrogen dragons exist, of course. They blow up at the smallest action. Yeah. Are there Tarrasque on the elemental planes of water and air? I can't imagine a Tarrasque being able to move through air. No, as far as I know, not. No, they don't exist in the elemental planes. There's worse things on the elemental planes than Tarrasques. Yeah, that's a good point, Dragon Turtle. It is difficult to get a sizable force through any sort of portal. The Orc Gate Wars, there's been 2 massive gateways which were opened to whatever original realm of existence the Orcs came from. And wherever the Orcs came from, there's multiple different species of Orcs on that planet, much like there's... so you could say the Grey Mountain Orcs are the original Orcs of Tyrol, and then the Thayan Orcs are different. They're more intelligent, a bit more civilized. So... yeah, they're like demi-human versions of each other. Hydrogen dragon? I know. Hydrogen gas? Oh, so Dragon Turtle, the Night Hags has a vested interest to disguise their identity, because they are incapacitated so badly after they, from the act of creating an Ultraloth, because they're spending their hit points, their hit dice essentially. It takes them a long time to recover. So the Ultraloth, generally speaking, they're still created evil. And so there's, and Night Hags are very cunning, very crafty, very wise, and very, they prepare for the worst case scenario. So they're prepared for the fact that the Ultraloth may turn on them and kill them off one by one, somehow managing to save its own life. The saving grace is that they always program the Ultraloth to be reliant on their life continuing until they're fully recovered, and then they release the Ultraloth from its... once it's completed its quest, they release it, and it's no longer tied to their own personal life force. But it's like their insurance policy. But they like the Ultraloth may be captured, and they may, or the forces of evil who are fighting it, or forces of good who are fighting against the Ultraloth, may discover that its life is tied to specific Night Hags through, whatever means, and then they will target those particular Night Hags. So that's why they keep their identity secret. Hey, Yubtub High Priest. Hail, Yubtub. Yeah, immune to magical effects, but soft and weak scales. Yeah, cannot be scryed by any means. Cannot be seen through with X-rays. Exactly. Lead dragons. There should be a lead dragon. That would be hilarious. Can't fly. Just like, ugh. So, ugh. I'm not fat. I'm just thick-boned. Adamantine dragons. Yep, adamantine dragons exist in Bitopia. Boom. How's Get Curb? Yeah. Yeah, so Coatl, I guess, William, would be his original form. I prefer the Trask to death by tornado or flame. Less painful. Yeah, it's pretty quick, though. A flame tornado would wipe out a human being pretty quickly. All you got to do is breathe in, and you're out. Is it possible to forcibly compel a chaotic being to honor its agreements? Maybe something like a magical yes, it is. There's also a form of eternal, almost like a Modron, I think it's called a Marut, that enforces contracts across the multiverse. They're inevitables. Hey, Kickass, great. Duke, thank you. Someone asked in here earlier, would you do a video on specific angels or named celestials? Yeah, I want to give a bit more attention to celestials. Actually, in the next video that I upload on dwarves, I talk a little bit about celestial forces. And in it, I talk about the allies and servants, basically the retinue of Moradin. And I'd say about 50% of the creature types that I name in there, none of you would have heard of. Well, some of you would have heard of them, obviously. We've got some pretty wise scholars in here, but a lot of them, none of them have been covered in 5th edition whatsoever. What sort of god would Tharizdun have been if he had not been corrupted by the Shard of Ultimate Evil? He would be a greater god. He'd be similar to Ao or the Lady of Pain and things like that. He's just basically massively powerful. Definitely greater god. So equal to equal to Moradin and Grumsh and Corellian, Larathian and Lathander. More powerful than all of them combined, really, because none of them could. He cannot be destroyed. If he gets destroyed, essentially the multiverse gets destroyed. That's how powerful he is. Sodium Dragon goes to the plane of water. Boom! Yeah. You demand a dragon for each element on the periodic table. Yeah, well, that would be in my best interest because the dragon videos always get mad amounts of views. Where do new Yugoloths and Baneloths come from? I suppose the Yugoloths and the Baneloths continue to create. They've got no reason why they can't continue to create new Yugoloths. Imagine basically that the Yugoloths are clones, specifically tailored by the Baneloths and the Hags to do a specific purpose. What are you talking about, William? If an Orc Wa ended up in the Abyss, assume they were at least mostly immune to demonic corruption, who would win? The demons would. If the Orcs were... I don't see why Orcs wouldn't be vulnerable to demonic corruption. So I reject that premise. In which case, the demons always win. In fact, the Orcs would become a version of demonic Orcs, essentially, which is terrifying. Demon fungus warriors who are pre-programmed with technological innovations. Oh, we've got 2 mods in here today. Well, there are some Celestials in 5th edition, and they do cover 3 different types of angel, for instance. They really need to cover Archons, because Archons are the forces underneath the Angels, pretty much. Like the Archons are the stages of progression where souls go through their personal progress, and they sort of climb the heights of Celestia through varying challenges. And if they devote themselves to service and duty to others, so the more good aspect of lawfulness, then they basically become Lantern Archons, and then up the ranks of, Hound Archons and Bear Archons and Lion Archons and stuff, all the way up until they become Tome and Staff and Sword Archons and things, and start getting real weird. Spinning wagon wheels with wings Archons. Yes, there are lawful good orcs that are, well, they're not all lawful good, but there are intelligent, civilized orcs on Faerun. One particular group of them. Yeah, and demon corrupted orcs are Tanaruk, but we're actually talking about Warhammer 40k orcs. Orcs with a K. Orcs have been shown to be almost completely immune to chaos corruption. Ah, interesting. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against mixing up genres, for sure. I think Warhammer 40k works really well. Also, Star Trek away teams work really well in Dungeons and Dragons, because you represent all of their technological progress as magical spell effects and artifacts, and then they're just basically a bunch of humans who beam down to a planet and interact. They've got these deadly phases, radiant energy, being able to teleport with an external teleporting artifact, their spaceship. Works really well, actually. What captive from the Abyss would I free? None of them. I wouldn't get involved. I'd stay as far away from the Abyss as possible. I'd be sitting in an orchard in Evening Star, sipping some wine, sipping some mead, and eating some brambleberry jam on some spicy loaf. That'd be me, man. And then I'd scuttle back into my warded and protected tower to study up on magic. That'd be me. I'd be a hedge wizard. I'd probably get to the Library of Candlekeep as quickly as possible, and they'd go, "How do you know so much about the Forgotten Realms?" It's like, well, believe it or not, in the alternate plane of existence that I come from, all of this is written. They'd be like, "That's crazy." I'm like, "I know, right?" They'd also be like, we can't understand a word you say. And I'd be like, "Why are you all speaking French Italian?" Well, that's what common sounds like. The helium dragon can't be taken seriously because its voice is too high. Are there I don't know, that's how you spell it. Orichalcum dragons. Yeah, I think there are. Yeah, thanks, James, but no, I don't think I would get involved in the Abyss whatsoever. Hey, Kikastuk, thank you. Wow, you've been like super active today. I have a specific question for my home brew. Ooh, yeah, fire away. How can I contact you outside this live chat to get a consultation on a specific topic? I want my setting to tie into D&D lore canonically, and you need my voice. Well, anybody can email me, and I will answer any emails that I get, specifically ones that are related to D&D questions. I'd prefer if people don't send me an entire manuscript of their homebrew world. Just give me bullet points and the nutshell sort of things where you want it to connect and stuff, and I can consult for free. Just send me an email. I'll type it into the chat here. The other way, of course, is Discord. You can ask me questions on Discord and message me there. Or you can message me if you're a patron. Patrons can ask me an unlimited amount of questions, and I'll also make custom videos for them as well. There you go. that is my email address. Do not squander it. I'd be most pissed off if everybody spams my email with crap, because that's my primary email. If all of a sudden I start getting lots of spam mail, there will be hell to pay. I'll take names. Hey, Bumbling Bureaucrat. You'd make your own dimension? Yeah. That's the safest bet, really, in Dungeons & Dragons. Make your own pocket dimension and just stay there. That's really, really the best bet. You know, because you can make subjective time and space in the place. It's really, really hard to do so. Like, you have to have a massive amount of intelligence to do so. But yeah, make a demi-realm. Or take over an existing demi-realm and make sure that all record of it is lost. So essentially you just make your own little pocket universe. Ad for Emperor. So that gives you some clue about what a fan of Warhammer 40k I am. Ad for Emperor. Emperor is the Emperor protects. Turkey spam. Only in America. Hey, it's 1 o'clock, everybody. I'll go a little bit further today because everybody has been so generous with your super chats. Thank you very much. I really don't mind answering everybody's questions via emails and stuff. I try to get the emails as quickly as I possible, but usually it takes me a few days. Blood for the Blood God. I see we have a Cornite. Oh, that's right, Nicholas. You're making chowder. Chowder. Two hydrogen dragons have a threesome with an oxygen dragon. Got pretty moist. How would I play an army of Nicklevi led by Dullahan? Actually, I need to do some research on Dullahan. I don't know. Yeah, all the good demiplane spells were in 3rd edition, that's true. No, don't leave us. I'm still here. Just hide in a portable hole forever, provided you have air spells, of course. Yeah, air and warmth. For the Omnissiah, the machine god. I mean, really. You got turkey spam, Mimi. Well, there you go. Doesn't surprise me. Australia's very buddy-buddy with America. Makes sense, because you give them all the uranium. You should really stop giving them uranium. Politics. Milk for the cornflakes. Salt dragons for awkward fourth wheel. Come on, guys. We're descending into chaos. We've gone past the recommended length of time that a bunch of 103 Dungeons and Dragons fans should hang out together. We're starting to come up with real bad puns. Law for the law god, cheese for the cheese throne. Yes, a throne of cheese. One day. That is my dream. Yeah, I'm aware that Dullahan is from Ireland. Woolworths. Woolies. Wallers. Not Coles. Not Silly Sillies. Is there still Silly Sillies in Australia? Yeah. Arnhem Land, uranium. An area of Australia that the Aboriginals never went to because it's like, you go there, you get sick. It turns out it's so full of uranium that it's actually dangerous to live there. I'm fully in favour of rangers having more than one animal companion. I mean, because you can train an unlimited amount of animals, really, to follow your orders. If you can train 2 bears and have a dire wolf animal companion, why not? Don't let mechanics get in the way of what could be possible in reality. Lawful good wizards at a disadvantage to evil? No, I don't think so. I don't like these days. Alignment is way less important in Dungeons and Dragons, particularly with mortal creatures. I've got no problem with a character's alignment shifting through play during the game, because when you think about it, life and death struggles, adventures, those are formative sort of things. Like you don't see a lot of characters who get permanently traumatized by things that they see. You don't have like ranges and stuff. Like there should be cities full of people with like PTSD, who have dealt with like the horrors that the Dungeons and Dragons world inflict on them, and their alignment will shift and change naturally over the course of their lives. Even like over a course of months, their alignment may shift. They could start off lawful good because they're an acolyte from a temple city, and they go out all full of ideals and bluff and bluster. And then as soon as they hit the hard reality of frontiers being torn apart by rampaging hordes who have possibly even justified reasons for doing what they do, then their attitudes may change. They may shift towards a more practical, idealistic sort of worldview. So yeah, lawful good wizards. You could say that it'd be definitely a choice to be a lawful good wizard, because they see a lot of things in the course of their studies which open their eyes to a wider world, and I think possibly it's hard for them to stay completely separated from the ignorance of the people around them. That most people don't realize that there's other planes of existence and things like that. Like the general populace of the D&D world knows that there's gods and things, and yet it's rife with cults and forces of evil. People who willingly give themselves over to cults because it's an easy path to power, where they don't have to personally be a good person, but they still get power. Whereas a cleric or something like that, they're beholden and have to follow the doctrines of their faith. The gods demand that people are worthy of their gifts that they give them. And wizardy studies, it's very dangerous, and it's also really, really hard work, and it requires an enormous amount of mental commitment, because the people who memorize spells, think about it, they're not just like remembering a spell and then it disappears from their mind as soon as they've cast it. That's how it's represented generally in text and stuff. What they're really talking about is you study your spell book in the morning, and you memorize the light spell, you memorize the spell for Melsaf's arrow, you memorize the spell for this and that, witch bolt, chromatic orb. Well, no, you just know witch bolt. But then you keep those spells going in your head the entire day, and you're trying to concentrate on everything else you're doing as well, but also at the same time, it's like a shopping list that you're repeating over and over. You haven't got it written down. It's in your spell book in a big, lengthy, expanded form, but you're keeping the shorthand notes of it constantly churning over in your mind. So they are literally playing Sudoku every single time that they're talking to somebody at the same time. They're multitasking all the time to a ridiculous extent, which is why intelligence is so important to wizards. It's their memory. And it's exhausting. So casting those spells is like, then they adjust their list, and they're repeating the stuff in their head that they haven't cast for the day. They've spent like the mental and physical energy to channel that power without burning themselves to a crisp in the process. So it's really hard work. Anyway, well, we don't talk about your character's alignments in the game, Ian. They shift on a daily basis. They shift per session. I'm just kidding. What? Am I limited to Dragon Turtles to a limited extent? Like, I'm starting to get better and better at mechanics and stuff and creative questions. Lore questions are easy for me because I can just go and reference them and quote directly what you need to know, because I'm really good at finding lore information. Mechanics and stuff, I can find information on mechanics. A lot of it, though, is I quite often get asked questions which are way open to debate, and I don't really want to say yes or no to things that may impact the fun of your game. I don't want to tell anybody how to play D&D, is what I'm saying. Warlock packs. The cheat codes to magic, yeah. Well, absolutely kick us, dude. Is Descent into Avernus out yet? I don't think so. I haven't checked. Put you on blast. No, you're right, Dragon Turtle. You are correct. They're inhabited, or generally speaking, they're inhabited by evil spirits. Yeah. Some more than others. Like, for instance, wights are animated by negative energy, but they're mentally all there. Quite often, it's the psyche of the person is twisted into evil by just the horrible state of their existence, and they take out their pain on others because it's eternal. Other creatures like zombies and skeletons, the original soul of the person is completely gone, and that is basically just physical matter which is inhabited by a possessing spirit that animates it. And those possessing spirits hate life, so they destroy life whenever they can. If left to their own devices, a zombie or a skeleton will be compelled to destroy life around it. Zombies quite often will just sit there and do nothing, though. Skeletons, I think, are a little bit more twitchy. But they are not living creatures. They never were living creatures. And they can basically sit and exist in a place for an unlimited amount of time just doing nothing. It doesn't drive them crazy because they're already crazy. Yeah, so Ian and I used to live in the same city, and we used to game physically together every Tuesday and hang out on a regular basis. Now I live outside of the city, and so we have to continue our Tuesday game via Discord live chats. But Ian comes over and visits on a regular basis as well, like every few months. When will I have a talk in some auditorium? Probably if I go to a convention or something like that, there'll be people who will possibly recognise me. I don't imagine... I mean, the day might come where I'm up in front of a bunch of people talking. But, yeah. Who knows? Talking into a camera is different from talking in front of, 100 people or 1,000 people. Although I have talked in front of a lecture hall in front of about, how many people were there? About 300 people. I think that's the most people I've talked to in one time. Yeah, exactly. There are also lots of sort of plug-in apps and stuff that you can use, bots for Discord as well, to increase the usefulness of it. Google Hangouts used to be really good because it had all these add-ons for dice rolling and stuff like that you can use, although I don't know why they did it along the way, but they kind of screwed over live chats on Google Hangouts, so they weren't as good. But they're still a viable method for, role-playing. And then, of course, you've got Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, which are virtual tabletops with the video link sort of thing, so you can put up maps and things like that and move critters around and toggles and tokens around on them. Dice rolling stuff, things like that. Although there's a bit of a learning curve for Roll20 and a really steep learning curve for Fantasy Grounds, which I don't really like. But there will be more and more products that come out along the way. There's also World Anvil as well for building campaigns and stuff like that. I'm not sure if World Anvil has a VTT thingy, but you can use it in conjunction with other things to share information, share screens and stuff from World Anvil, and that's really good for campaign and world building, and even just like developing your own stories for writing novels and stuff. Yeah, but there's continual development in immersive 3D augmented reality, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to be seeing a lot of innovations along those lines in the next 5 or 10 years. 10 years from now, who knows? You'll probably be putting on your virtual, your VR thingy, or I don't know, activating your VR plugin, and you'll be physically there in a virtual environment with others around you, and you'll be able to manipulate the environment around you, which I think we've got all the existing technology for that now, so it's just a matter of putting it all together on a platform that everybody can share. And then we'll have a whole new moral panic about people, you know, being plugged into the machine, into the matrix. Because it is. It's the matrix. That's essentially what we're creating. All right, everybody. I'm going to take off. I got some dwarf video to make. Do I have a copy of the Book of Unlawful Carnal Knowledge for D&D, AJ? No, I don't, Michael. I think I might have a PDF of it somewhere. Doesn't really interest me. You're using World Anvil right now? Excellent. It is a great product. Really is. VR is too spendy. Would have to get much cheaper. Yeah, well, you can already use your smartphone and plug it into a headset for a cheapo VR experience. So there's that. Most people have got cell phones these days. Yeah, neural implants will be the way to go. Plug me in, baby. When a calcium dragon hatches, does every villager in a 20-mile radius get osteoporosis? No, that's not how osteoporosis works. What's the last one? If one were to destroy the astral plane, would the planes begin to fly apart? No, they wouldn't. They'd transfer over to limbo. All right. Okay. I'll drag myself away. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel. And yeah, we'll have another 2 or 3 videos this week for you. Ciao.